Welcome to the Harry E. Mitchell Government Center for a special budget meeting. We have Robin Arredondo Savage. It will not be attending. She's representing the military at D-Day commemorations. And our mayor, Mayor Mark Mitchell, is on the phone. I'd like to call the special city council meeting to order. On May 22nd, 2019, City Council approved the fiscal year 2019-2020 tentative budget and set the date for tonight's public hearings. I'd like to call Ken Jones up. Dias, thank you so much. So today we are holding a public hearing to adopt a resolution adopting the fiscal years 2019 through 2023-2024 capital improvements program. I'm now opening the public hearing. And if there's anyone in the audience wishing to address the council, so I hear none, I will now close the public hearing. Now I will ask any discussion from colleagues or any questions from council colleagues about the proposed budget. Okay, so do I hear a motion to adopt resolution R2019.52? Moved by Councilmember Keating, seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Please vote. Mayor Mitchell?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Yes, I voted for you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. I have 2 votes tonight. With Councilmember Arredondo Savage absent, the vote is 6-0. I'm sorry. Yes, 6-0. Now, we'd like to hold a public hearing as required under the state's Truth in Taxation statute and adopt a resolution indicating the city's intention to adopt a primary property tax levy that, excluding amounts related to new construction, will be greater than last year's primary tax levy. So I'd like now to open a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council on this item? Hearing none, I would like to close the public hearing and ask my council colleagues if there's any discussion or questions. Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt resolution R2019.53? That's a motion made by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Please vote. Mr. Mayor?
Aye. Aye.
The vote is 6-0 with Councilmember Arredondo Savage absent. Next, we'd like to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt the fiscal year 2019-2020 property tax ordinance. The second and final public hearing is scheduled for June 27th, 2019. This is also a public hearing item. Do we have any members of the audience wishing to address the council? Hearing none, I close the public meeting and ask council colleagues if there's any discussion or questions. So this is the first public hearing, and there will be no vote taken tonight. The second public hearing is scheduled for June 27th, 2019. The next agenda item is to hold a public hearing to adopt a resolution containing estimates of proposed expenditures by the City of Tempe for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020, and to declare that such shall constitute a final budget for the City of Tempe for said fiscal year. This is also a public hearing item. Do we have anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing and ask my council colleagues if there is any discussion or questions. Is there a motion to adopt resolution R2019.54? Moved by Councilmember Adams, seconded by Councilmember Keating. Please vote. Mr. Mayor?
Aye.
And Councilmember Arredondo Savage is absent, so that's 6-0 vote. The motion passes. With that, we will call an end to the special budget meeting. Thank you. Lauren Kuby, Vice Mayor of the City of Tempe. I'm calling the regular council meeting to order. Welcome to the June 6, 2019 City Council meeting held in the Harry E. Mitchell Government Center. Tonight's agenda has a number of items that the City Council must consider in order to conduct city business. Guidelines for conduct of the City Council meetings are available at the back of the council chambers to those in attendance at tonight's meeting. Continued disruptive behavior will lead to removal from the council chambers. We need to be able to hear everyone in the room, so behavior that disrupts or disturbs or otherwise impeaches the orderly conduct of any council meeting is not helpful and is not permitted. So I'd invite everyone who's able and willing to stand and join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And I would like to make a special announcement that today Tempe commemorated the wonderful woman, Marianne Mitchell, the mayor's mother and first lady of the city for so many years. So if you could give some thoughts and prayers to the Mitchell family, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible. Seated. So now we have the meeting minutes. Do we have a motion from Councilmember Keating?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move we approve item 3A, 1 and 2.
So I hear a motion to approve and
Second.
and a second by, sorry, motion approved by Councilmember Keating and motion second, sorry, Councilmember Adams. And we have a abstain from Councilmember Chin, who is not in attendance at the meeting that we're voting on. So any comment on this item? Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? The vote is Mayor Mitchell?
He's off the phone now.
Okay. So the vote is 5-0 with Councilmember, pardon?
4.
Pardon? Right, 4-0, right, with one abstain, one not in attendance, and Councilmember, and sorry, Mayor Mitchell, not in attendance. Now, do we have a motion for acceptance of board commission?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I move we approve item 3B, 1 through 4.
May I have a second?
Second.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And abstain. So we have a vote for, oh, you can vote on this one, okay. So we have a vote for 5-0, and with Councilmember Hernando Savage and and the Mayor Mitchell absent. Excuse me, guys, I'll get over this clumsiness. So now we have reports and announcements. So I will proceed down to these. Juneteenth. May I have representatives of the African American Advisory Committee come forward? Thank you very much. Stand right there and I'll. So Juneteenth celebrates a very important event in United States history, the ending of slavery in our country. Today we are joined by the African American Advisory Committee, who works so hard to put on the annual Juneteenth celebration, which is taking place at the Tempe History Museum next Saturday. And it's June 15th will be the celebration from 1 to 4 at the Tempe History Museum. This committee works very hard to preserve and remind us of the special role that African Americans played in Tempe's history and continue to play in Tempe's history. With that being said, I'd like to read a proclamation. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, formally abolishing slavery in the Confederacy, and on June 19th, 1865, Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger landed at Galveston, Texas, to enforce President Lincoln's 2.5-year-old Emancipation Proclamation and declare freedom for all slaves. And whereas every year after, former Texas slaves and their descendants joined in a celebration of freedom on June 19th, and that day became known as Juneteenth. And whereas across the country, Americans continue to celebrate Juneteenth as a day to reflect on the torment of slavery, remember the joyful Declaration of Freedom, and rejoice with family and friends. And whereas the Tempe Diversity Office, the Tempe History Museum, and the African American Advisory Committee will be hosting a Juneteenth celebration in honor of African American heritage and remember the lives of slaves. And whereas the celebration gives all Tempeans the opportunity to commemorate the heritage of our city's African American population as we renew our commitment to combat injustice, so many forms of injustice, and hold to the values of inclusion, equity, and justice. Now, therefore, I, Lauren Kuby, Vice Mayor of the City of Tempe, Arizona, do hereby declare June 15th, 2019 as Juneteenth in Tempe, Arizona. Would you like to speak?
On behalf of the African American Advisory Committee, I would like to thank you, Vice Mayor and Mayor Mitchell, and the council members and the city of Tempe for this proclamation and allowing us to share part of our history with everyone in the city of Tempe. I would also like to introduce Ms. Michelle Brooks Tortoise, and she will tell you about it, but I want to say we wouldn't have it if it wasn't from her. She's been on every committee, and she is the one that tells us what to do.
Thank you, Dr. Johanna Uri Glover. She's our chair for this year. I am so excited about Juneteenth. If you look through the history of Tempe in the early 1800s, African Americans were here in Tempe, but they went to the city of Phoenix for the first Juneteenth celebration. We have now been doing about 6 years of Juneteenth here in the city of Tempe, which would not be possible without the support of our wonderful city council members, diversity, Rosa, Jenny, the firefighters department, the police department. Chief Moyer has been very excellent, and Chief Riss as well. This year we have a lot of activities for the children. It's going to be very interactive, not just education, and we're having a free community raffle. So this is, I think, going to be one of our best Juneteenths ever, and we hope everyone can come out and celebrate the history of African Americans here in the city of Tempe. Thank you very much.
So do we have any city manager announcements?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I do have one announcement. We have a couple of our staff members here who I wanted to recognize because they have been recently promoted. We have Sean Wagner and Craig Hayton, who are here in our Community Services Department. Sean was recently promoted to Deputy Director for Community Services Recreation, and Craig Hayton was promoted recently Deputy Director, Community Services for Parks. So gentlemen, if you stand up, be recognized, we appreciate you, and we congratulate you.
Congratulations.
Both longtime city employees, and we're excited about them in their new role. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Consent agenda. We're moving to that. It's all items listed in the consent agenda will be considered as a group and will be enacted with one motion by the City Council unless an item is removed for separate consideration. Members of the public may remove public hearing items for separate consideration. Public hearing items are designated by an asterisk, and council members may remove any item for separate consideration. If you wish to speak on a public hearing item, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the council chambers and turn it in at the front of the room. I will call your name when it's your turn for public comment. So the consent agenda as follows is miscellaneous items 5A1 through 5A6, awards of bids and contracts, items 5B1 through 5B12, and resolutions, items 5C1 through 5C4. And any agenda item marked with an asterisk is a public hearing item and can be removed by a member of the public for separate consideration. So if you'd like to have a public hearing item removed, please get my attention now. Any of my colleagues, are there any agenda items you'd like to have removed from the consent agenda for separate consideration? So I'd like to have a motion to approve the consent agenda items with the exception of any items that have been pulled, which are 0. So moved by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Councilmember Chin. So please vote. Oops, I keep forgetting that. Oh gosh, okay. It's 4-5-0 with council, pardon?
I pressed too fast, I guess.
5-0 with Councilmember Arredondo Savage and Mayor Mitchell absent. So, non-consent agenda item, let's see. Okay. So now we'll move to agenda item, sorry guys. 6, pardon? Moving to 6C1. Thank you. Trustee.
6A.
6A. Right. Moving to 6A1. The first item in the section, 6A1, has been withdrawn at the request of the applicant. The next item under this section is 6A2, which is to approve the utilization of one-year State of Arizona contracts with the IES Commercial Incorporated, Grubber Technical Incorporated, Premise One Incorporated, Garrett Gray Bar Electric Incorporated, Annexter Incorporated, and Aspen Communications for data and telecommunications, cabling, fiber optic installation, and repair services for city buildings. Let's see. This is all in alignment with capital improvement plans for traffic, sewer, and water projects. Are there any comments and discussion from council members? So I'd like to have a motion then on item 6A2. Oh, I'm sorry. Vice Mayor asked for a motion 6A2 in a second. Huh. Am I confused?
First hearing, right?
Pardon? I'm right? Oh, I was right. Quit mansplaining that. And do I have a motion for approval? And a second? So approve, motion by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Councilmember Navarro. Please vote. And this time you remember. And the vote is 5-0 with Councilmember Arredondo Savage and Mayor Mitchell absent. So 682, okay. So the next item under this section is 6A3. Award a construction contract to AJP Electric Incorporated for the intersection improvements Rural Road and Southern Avenue project located at 809 East Southern Avenue. Do we have any comments and discussion from my council colleagues? I'd like to have a motion then on 6A3. Moved by Councilmember Keating, seconded by Councilmember Chin. Please vote. The vote is 5-0 with Mayor Mitchell and Councilmember Arredondo Savage absent. The next item in this section is 6A4. Public hearing to adopt a resolution levying the fiscal year 2019-2020 annual assessment for the City of Tempe, Downtown Tempe Enhanced Services Improvement District, and approving the tentative budget of the district for the fiscal year 2019-2020. This is a public hearing item. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item? That being said, I'll close the public hearing. Are there any council members who have any comments or discussion? Okay. The last item in this section is 6A5. Is that coming up? Pardon?
6A4.
Pardon? It doesn't say we vote on it. It's just a, yeah. 6A5 is the next item. To adopt a resolution authorizing an unassigned fund balance in the amount of $1.6 million from the general fund to the Emergency Medical Transportation Enterprise Fund and repayment of those funds together with interest back to the general fund within a period of 15 years. Okay. The there any comments or discussion? On this one, I do need a motion. Moved by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Councilmember Adams. Please vote. And the vote passes 5-0 with Councilmember Aradona Savage and Mayor Mitchell absent. The next section on the non-consent agenda is ordinances and items for introduction and first hearing. These items will be read and introduced tonight, but no vote will be taken. The second hearing and vote for these items is scheduled for June 27th, 2019. So now we move into ordinances and items for introduction and first hearing. The first item in this section is 6B1, public hearing to adopt an ordinance approving the conveyance of certain unimproved city-owned land with addresses of 1443 South Rita Lane and 1444 South Rita Lane to Newtown Development Corporation. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item? And I do have a speaker, Kim Gaffney-Loza. Are you, please come to the podium.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council. My name is Kim Gaffney-Loza. I am a resident of Tempe, and I just want to commend you for taking this step. I think it's a great step for helping those that are more economically challenged in our community. I just hope, too, that we don't lose sight of finding some kind of situation for those that need temporary shelter. I'm seeing more and more of it in our neighborhood, North Tempe, in front of abandoned buildings right on Rural Road. So I just want to commend you, though, for taking this step. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address us, as this is a public hearing item? I will now close the public hearing and ask if any of my council colleagues would like to comment or any discussion. Okay, so Councilmember Keating has made a motion and seconded
Vice
by,
Mayor.
I'm sorry,
It's
oh,
just a first
sorry,
read.
you're right, I'm sorry. This is a first read, so we will proceed with the second read in a few weeks. Thank you so much. So the next item under this section is 6B2. Introduce a public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute deeds, leases, and other documents pursuant to the development disposition agreement between Farmer Arts LLC and the City of Tempe. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item? I have one speaker. We have Kevin Brown. Please come to the podium. And please say your name and your residence. address.
Kevin Brown, resident of Tempe. Thank you, Vice Mayor and City Council members. The issue I'm addressing today is 6B2, the Development Disposition Agreement between Farmer Arts LLC and the City of Tempe. This development has been on and off for about the last 15 years or so. The world has changed in that time, and so has this project. What changed? The public amenities like green space, paths, have mostly disappeared. I don't know about the workforce housing part. What wasn't changed is the giblet, sales tax rebates, and no current appraisal. The city has no problem giving these gifts while at the same time applying another property tax increase. Property taxes are paid by the residents of Tempe. I looked at the latest community survey, and nowhere did I see a request for more traffic, more development, and more tax giveaways for developers. These properties have been besieged with rumors of double dealing and corruption since the beginning. Sweetheart deals, incompetence, possible layoffs, and just general unsavory behavior are only some of the things alleged. At a minimum, an investigation should be started to look into these allegations before any action is taken on this matter. Probably this agreement should be allowed to expire and be started over with new RFPs and appraisals. The City of Tempe and the residents deserve this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to address the City Council on this topic? So I'll now close the public hearing and ask my council colleagues if there are any comments or discussion. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, I would like more information on this from our legal department before we move forward.
Thank you, Council Member. Our office would be happy to provide additional information to the City Council.
That closes that item. The next item under this section is 6B3, public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 23, Article 3, Division 2 of the Tempe City Code relating to park rules, park and building use permit by amending Section 23-56 relating to, when required, consideration of applications. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item, as this is a public hearing item? I will close the public hearing then and ask my council colleagues if there's any comments or discussion. This is just a first read, okay? I'll move on to the next item in the section, which is 6B4. It's a public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing to establish a permit process and fee when filming for a commercial purpose on city property. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this public hearing item? Then I will close the public hearing and ask my council colleagues if there's any comment or discussion. I guess that we're moving along now. The next item in this section is 6B5. This is a public hearing to adopt an ordinance repealing Chapter 7, bicycles and light motorized vehicles from the Tempe City Code. And is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the City Council on this item? So I will now close the public hearing and ask my council colleagues if there's any comments or discussion they'd like to make related to this. Okay. And, okay. Now we'll move on to 6B6. And that is to introduce a public hearing to adopt an ordinance amending and expanding Chapter 19 Tempe City Code concerning motor vehicles and multimodal traffic. And I would like to say our city attorney, Judy Bauman, would like to make a clarification to this item.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Kuby, Council. We wanted to clarify the record. The request for council action, the language in it does not mirror exactly the language specified in the ordinance under Section 19-212D, where they talk about the speed limit on the roadway is 25 miles per hour or higher. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to address the council on this item? Then I will close the public hearing and ask council colleagues if there's any comments or discussion. So I'd like to let you know that the agenda item scheduled for the second public hearing, final adoption, will now be considered. This item was read and introduced on May 9th, 2019, and a vote will be taken tonight. These are ordinances and items for second hearing and final adoption. The only item in this section is 6C1, public hearing to adopt an ordinance for an amended planned area development overlay and development plan review, including landscape plan for the Grand at Papago Park Center located at 1151 West Washington Street. Would the applicant like to make a statement? Is the applicant here? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience? Oh, excuse me. Come on down. Please state your name, place of residence.
I'm Mitch, excuse me, I'm Mitch Rosen. I work for SRP in Papago Park Center. I'm here in the audience to answer any questions should you have any. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or wants to address the City Council on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask council members if there's any comments or discussion or questions that we have of the applicant. So I'd like to ask for a motion then. Moved by Councilmember Keating and seconded by Councilmember Adams. Please vote. The motion passes 5-0 with Mayor Mitchell and Councilmember Ardonna Savage absent. So now we'll move on to current events, council announcements, and future agenda items. So who is going to begin? Greg? We have Chin, Arlene. Councilmember Chin. No announcements. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, I have several announcements. First of all, the gallery at the TCA, Tempe Center for the Arts, is presenting water. It's a water exhibit, and it's May 24th through August 31st. And the exhibit explores water and how it's interpreted through the eyes of an artist. I'll talk about sustainability, history, science, and beauty of water. And the best of all, it's free. So I'd encourage everyone to attend that. Also, my condolences to Mayor Mitchell's family. with the loss of his mother. It was a very nice service today, and you will be missed. My condolences also to the family of Doug Todd. Doug Todd was instrumental in the creation of our Valley freeways, including the 101 and 202. He also spent 14 years in the Arizona legislature. So my condolences to the Todd family. Thank you.
Councilmember Keating.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just really quickly, want to note the 75th anniversary of D-Day and thank all past and current service members for defending the country and making meetings like this and everything that we take for granted possible. I'd also like to express my sympathies and condolences to the Mitchell family on their loss. I was able to see both the mayor and Harry yesterday, and I can't imagine what this will be going through, and I hope that it gets better for them in time. I'd also, on a more lighthearted note, I just want to say, go Blues. Thank you.
Councilmember.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Just want to give our condolences out to the Mitchell family and their loss with Mark's mom, Harry's wife, and all the blessings to the Todd's family also. Thank you.
I have a few announcements. And I also want to express my condolences at Mount Carmel today. I don't think there was a seat to be had, and such a moving ceremony. So many people that loved Marianne and were impacted by her life. So our condolences to the family. So we will have a free sustainability film screening, and the title is not there, but it's Paris to Pittsburgh, about our country's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Accords and about the city's reactions and how cities are still in this fight for climate change. So it's at the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema, June 19th, and please RSVP at sustainability.asu.edu events. Next, just a note that Sustainability Director Braden Kay and I attended the International Climate Conference, 2019 International Climate Change Action Conference. And we were so proud to be there representing cities across the U.S., cities that are in this fight, regardless of what our national government is saying or doing. And we are pleased to be with colleagues from San Francisco and San Diego and Fort Collins, and learning about other climate action plans as we embark on our very first climate action plan, to learn of what other cities are doing and to represent cities from across the U.S. It was quite an honor, and it was very impactful. Thank you. And the next is Tempe Pre. Please enroll in Tempe Pre. It's a full-day preschool in 12 local elementary schools. And it's not just the preschool, it's the before-school care and the after-school care and the entire summer long. This is high-quality pre-K. And as you see, we opened up the program to include those who can possibly afford to pay a little bit more. We have a free pre-K for those who are 200% of poverty level or below, and $375 a month for students from income-qualified Tempe families, and then $750 a month per student for any family. So please consider applying. It starts in August, and it's open just to families in Tempe and neighboring cities. The fee-per-fee structure is open to residents in neighboring cities. So please enroll online. Okay, so now we'll move to public appearances, and I think there are no speakers under our scheduled public appearances. Under unscheduled public appearances, is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the council? If so, please come forward and state your name and city of residence for the record. And the first person will be William Bill Lowridge. And just to remind you, according to Arizona open meeting law, the city council may only discuss matters listed on this agenda. Matters discussed by the public during public appearances cannot be discussed by the city council unless they are specifically listed on the agenda. There's a 3-minute time limit per speaker. Speakers' visual aid or recorded tapes are not allowed. Members of the public shall refrain from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks and from becoming boisterous while addressing the city council or while attending the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, clapping, stomping of feet, yelling, or any similar demonstrations are also prohibited. Violations of these rules may result in removal from the city council meeting. Hi, Bill.
Will I restart my 3 minutes?
Yes, we'll restart in 3 minutes.
My name is William. I'm better known as Bill Lothridge. My family's been here in Tempe since the 1930s. I live at 1118 East Wesleyan Drive. I've never really involved myself in the city politics. I've just been an observer. There have been a couple of events that have occurred in the past year or so, and specifically more recently. The first thing that really got my attention was the bike lanes on McClintock. You've heard a lot about that. Every day as we drive down McClintock and we see these unused bike lanes, and basically the fact that you even considered that, it made me want to come back and say, what in the world are you doing here? Then last month, I guess, you removed Colby Granville from as a member of the council. That was done without due process. I'm sure that there's an argument that you think you did do due process, but the fact that you removed a sitting council member that was elected by the public, and you have other people on the council who have similar issues that have never really been addressed by the council. The other thing, as I get myself involved in this, I realize that 50% of this council is employed by Arizona State University. I think that Arizona State University, I went to the Payne Training School, which is on the Arizona State campus. They have a big impact in the city, but I don't know that they have, it's so important that they have a 50% of the vote on the council as an impact. I think there's some possible conflict issues there. As I get into this more, I'll be able to address those better. This is, like I say, my first meeting. You have gone through some property transfers and things here without any kind of comment by either people on the council or from the public. You've transferred some properties. There was one gentleman that asked that maybe you should restart a program that's been going on for some years. So it's interesting to me that these kinds of impacts, I see something about fees and licenses. I've had a small business here for many years, and I pay a fee for some of the things in several different ways. And the fact that there is no discussion basically here at all about those fees that I see. Of course, this is my first visit, so I don't know what's gone on before, but if the other visits have been similar, then I understand that this is an open meeting. You're supposed to only discuss these things in this open forum. And if you discuss anything beside that, it's not a good idea. I mean, we need to hear what kind of discussions you have about that. I have 3 seconds left. I think that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And we have our Deputy City Manager, Stephen Methvin. If you have some concerns, you could maybe speak with him. He could explain about the status of our employment status. I think there are 2 people on the council that work for ASU, not over half. And now we have Darian Barrett. Please come to the podium. Please tell us your name and your place of residence.
Hello, my name is Darian Barrett. I'm a resident of Tempe. As a lot of you guys know, I'm a leading organizer in the city of Tempe and the community in Tempe and around. I do focus on, the tragic events that happen within our community, and I'm starting to take a step at a different approach. I'm willing to meet with city employees, city council members, to see how community leaders like I and others alike can meet with you guys to see how we could work together to see where we are both coming from, and how we could work together and the next time something like Antonio Arce or Dalvin Hollins or a case alike comes along, you can reach out to the community and say, hey, we need the community leaders to gather with some of these city officials and talk about what kind of step it is that we can take, because I'm afraid that the next situation that happens, we could turn into the next Ferguson, and I honestly don't believe that our community is, fit for something like that. The businesses around is what keeps Mill Ave going. The community around us is what keeps us going, and I'd be real afraid to see the community of Tempe fall apart due to something that me and the community and the employees at the police department and the people on the council chairs could help resolve. Thank you.
Thank you, Darian. Jessica Behrens? Please state your name and residence for the record.
Sure, most of you know by now, my name is Jessica Burns and I currently reside in Tempe. I'm here to speak again tonight because our city has become so concentrated on police violence that we're not willing to pause and see the bigger picture. Yes, a young man was shot and killed. Yes, he was only 15, and yes, he was running away from the officer. There are many variables in the situation that may or may not have changed the outcome that afternoon. However, in order to come together, we need to find a common understanding of how we got here and why. There needs to not only be talk about what went wrong that day, but about what to do differently to ensure that incidents like this don't happen again. This isn't a job for the police department, the city council, or the community alone. It's a job that will require all of us to come together and work to find a solution. What happened in January should have never happened, and our community needs to work on a resolution to prevent further similar tragedies. We have all grieved over the lives lost again and again to violence in our communities, but we aren't doing anything about it. This can't continue. This past Sunday, Miles Hall, a friend and classmate, was shot and killed by police back home in Walnut Creek, California. He was in his own neighborhood, our neighborhood. We lived a block from each other, and I saw him all the time. His favorite thing to do was ride his bicycle, and he'd wave every time he saw you. He was just that type of guy. Miles also had mental health issues. He's not the first mentally ill person to be killed by police, and I'm sure he won't be the last, as this has become a growing problem in our society. A similar incident happened here in Tempe in December 2016. A mentally ill man was shot and killed just outside of a home on Fremont Drive. As of mid-2018, it was reported that there's a single 40-hour, one-week crisis intervention training course conducted every few months with 25 to 30 people. One class every few months for only 25 to 30 people. From what I was told this morning, approximately 50% of the Tempe Police Department already has this training. One of our goals is to come up with a solution that accelerates mental health training for every Tempe police officer. Aside from implementing additional police training, we have to do something as a community to provide assistance and resources for those struggling with their mental health. I also believe that there needs to be a tab on the City of Tempe website that offers mental health resources for those in need. A search this evening found nothing except for those offered for military veterans and the services that Care 7 provides. Care 7's link says, and I quote, "When dispatched by Tempe Police and/or Fire, Care 7 will respond to incidents including domestic violence, auto accidents, physical assaults, suicides, homicides, and other unexpected deaths." Tempe's website makes it sound like there's a need for police or fire to be dispatched in order for someone to receive aid. It doesn't, but this wording may cause people to either seek help elsewhere or not at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Cliff Anderson? Please state your name and residence for the record.
Good evening. My name is Clifford Anderson, and I'm a resident of Tempe. I'm here today to discuss item 6B6, which is the Chapter 9 ordinance draft that was presented, put on the website. So first of all, I do want to thank council and staff for their great engagement in the community on the subject of bicycle safety. And you guys work together really well as a team, and I do appreciate how you engage with the public. So I'm here to stand up for the rights of children who want to learn how to ride a bicycle. Just this week, and I see this quite often, as I ride on college, I see young children learning to ride a bicycle, and they're riding often with their parents next to them. The children are riding on the sidewalk. And with the new proposed ordinance, that would be illegal. And I think that's an oversight. I'm trying to be generous here on your part. I know there's a lot of considerations you're taking into account. But this is a really important thing for the safety of children, to be able to ride on the sidewalk in areas approaching schools particularly. So the underneath 25 mile per hour requirement, as well as the sidewalk requirement, the bike lane stipulation, that if there's a bike lane that you have to ride in the bike lane, it just doesn't make sense for kids who are learning how to ride. And really, it extends to more than that. But that's the really obvious case that I think that you might appreciate. But I've ridden with so many people who are adults who are trying to get their confidence and their ability to be able to ride in the bike lane with traffic so close. And I don't know if you appreciate how even the smallest thing, if you do wrong, looking back, I've known people who would look behind them and when they look behind, their bicycle goes the other way. You know, mature adults have been riding for a while. They still have problems with that. And so there's going to be some people who are really better off on the sidewalk, even though there's a bike lane. Okay. So the second case that I think is really important is some of the arterials have bike lanes, and I appreciate you put them there, but they're not protected, for example, on University. So there are approximately 3 out of 4 people who ride a bicycle at the intersection, east and west, of University and Rural. About 3 out of 4 bicyclists are riding on the sidewalk. And there's a bike lane. And you have to think, why are they doing that? And I have to suppose that they have their own safety in mind as they're making those decisions. So, you know, if it's a protected bike lane and you want to say, you know, bikes go in the protected bike lane and pedestrians go over here, that makes perfectly good sense. So please work toward protected bike lanes, and then you can make a requirement that bicyclists have to be in the bike lane. But otherwise, you know, please think again about what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Cliff. And Cliff, I know Shelley here, and is Brianne Fisher here? If you want to take some time and speak with them, I know you've been communicating with us back and forth on email today, but so we can address some of your concerns because we can't address it right now. Thanks. Are there any other speakers that would like to speak in unscheduled public appearances? Well, with that, I am going to adjourn the meeting, and we're going to have another meeting coming up for the Rio Salado College District in 30 seconds. But for now, adjourning the regular council meeting. Thank you. To Tempe City Council's special meeting. As Vice Chair, I'm calling this meeting to order, a special meeting of the Rio Salado Community Facilities District Board. On May 22nd, 2019, the Rio Salado Community Facilities District Board approved the fiscal year 2019-2020 tentative budget and set the date for tonight's public hearing. Agenda item 1. We are holding a public hearing to adopt a resolution approving the final budget for the Rio Salado Community Facilities District Improvement Project number 1 for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2019 and ending June 30th, 2020. Okay. This is a public hearing item. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this issue? Is closed, and I will now ask my colleagues, board colleagues in this instance, if there's any discussion or questions you have. So I'd like to see if there's a motion to adopt resolution CFDR 2019.02. No, so moved by Councilmember Navarro and seconded by Councilmember Adams.
Very fair.
Punishing you. Please vote. And that vote passes 5-0 with Mayor Mitchell and Councilmember Ardonna Savage absent. And I'd now like to adjourn the special meeting. Thank you and see you all in a few weeks.